Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, October 18th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. The Chiefs played 3 great quarters on Sunday in Washington and 1 lousy one. The 3 good ones were more than enough to handle business in a 31-13 victory. Star columnist Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian, along with beat writer Herbie Teope, discussed the day's ups and downs on SportsBeat Live, and now it's a SportsBeat KC podcast. I thought the defense was excellent, and the offense had its most productive day of the season because, in addition to players like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, several others stepped up. Well, let's hear what Vahe, Sam, and Herbie had to say.
Hello and welcome to SportsBeat Live, the Kansas City Stars Chief post-game show. We are here to discuss the Chiefs' 31-13 victory at Washington with the coverage team of Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, and Herbie Teope, and with you. Please let us know what you thought about the game, what you liked and didn't like, and how things might break going forward. And today, welcome to those following along on the Stars Twitter page at KC Star. Great to have you along. Let's see who's with us. Well, they're all here. Herbie, Sam, Vahe. Sam McDowell is not here. He's still working, so we will carry on. And Vahe is so ticked off at us, he just decided to drop out. And that is so Vahe. I think you guys will agree with me. So, all right, let's talk about today's game. It was a weird one. I want to start with the defense. And we're going to talk about both sides of the ball, but I want to start on the defensive side because, as I recall, the last time the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs took the podium, the first question he was asked about the trash he was putting on the field with his defense. And let me just read some numbers to you. Today, Washington was held to 276 total yards. Before that, the season low for the Chiefs defense was 352 against the Chargers. 13 points by far a season low. The previous was in the opener against the Browns, 29. So everybody else, 30 and plus points against the Chiefs until today. And then 2 takeaways, and there had been 0 in the previous 3 games. So, Melly, I know you wrote about the defense, so let's start with you. What did you see? What impressed you? And let's just give credit where credit is due here.
Yeah, it was their best. I mean, just objectively, if you think about yards and points, it was their best performance since week 8 last year, which was November 1st, and that was against the sorry Jets. So this is very noteworthy. I think the most obvious thing, the move that everybody had wanted, including a column that I wrote this week, Daniel Sorensen finally replaced by Juan Thornhill as the starting free safety. I think that mattered, but that's not like, I hope we're not going to pretend like that was the whole thing, or that it can be the whole thing going forward. Willie Gay Jr. He also started, he got hurt a little bit, but it looked to me like they were blitzing a lot more. The charts will come out later, but they had 10 quarterback hits. They have not had more than 6 in a game this season. I thought that was noteworthy, especially with Chris Jones missing another game. It looked like, and look, maybe this is like just my own bias, confirmation bias, but Juan Thornhill being in coverage, and then they had the 3rd and long that got away from him, the pass to Ricky Seals-Jones. But for the most part, I thought Matthew being in coverage, Thornhill being in coverage, the range and the coverage that he could provide better than Sorensen, I just thought it allowed the rest of the secondary to really work together. And, for the second straight postgame, I thought, and maybe he didn't mean it this way, but I thought for the second straight postgame that Tyrann Mathieu kind of threw Sorensen under the bus a little bit, saying like our scheme is our scheme. It's going to work as long as we have 11 guys that are all on the same page. And it was a question that I asked, and it was about Thornhill. And so I'm going to put 2 and 2 together on that one. So I do think the unit is working. They still need to tackle better. They need to wrap up and not just go for the hero hit a lot. They still have a lot of things to work on, but I thought this was a sort of the slide down maybe has plateaued a little bit at least, and maybe now they can start to go back up.
That seems like a fair way to put it. Len reminds us that defense is still lousy. Washington's a weak team, and Chiefs defense should have done even better today.
They weren't. Can I just say something real quick, Blair, about that?
Please.
Well, I mean, Washington's not a great team. Nobody's here going to argue otherwise, but they were 12th in the league in scoring coming into this. Tyler Heineke, if he gets rolling, I know we can all make our jokes, but he can sling it a little bit. The receivers, I think McLaren was hurt a little bit, and that probably hurt him a little bit. But the offense, Washington's offense is not garbage. It's not the Bills. They're not the Chargers. They're not the Rams or the Ravens. I'm sorry, the teams that have beat the Chiefs. But it's not a garbage offense. And I think that the performance, especially in the second half, is worth – look, nobody's throwing a parade right now, but I think it's worth acknowledging and giving them their praise for that.
In non end of half situations, Washington had 1 touchdown, 2 field goals, 4 punts, and committed 2 turnovers. I think the Chiefs would take that every day of the week. So, still, there was the play that got away. We'll talk about that in a second. Herbie, there were some injuries today, right? I mean, I didn't see. One in particular near and dear to your heart. Let's start with that one.
But when it happened, our esteemed colleague, Sam Mellinger, there leaned over to me and was like, "Are you okay to write the gamer? Are you going to be okay?" Hey, Jody Fortson, what a tough injury. Torn Achilles tendon in the third quarter. He made a miraculous catch in that first quarter, 27-yard grab down the left sideline there. But, yeah, he's done for the year with that torn Achilles. You also had Anthony Hitchens with an elbow injury. He left in the second quarter and did not return. Andy Reid says he will have an MRI on Monday, and the same applies to fullback Michael Burton with a left pectoral injury. He's also scheduled for an MRI. Tyreek Hill battled through a quad injury. He missed some time in that second quarter, late into the half. He entered the field late after halftime, but he went on his way to I think it was like 9 catches for 76 yards and the touchdown, so he's okay. Travis Kelce appeared to be in and out of the lineup. Andy Reid acknowledges that he is still dealing with a sore neck from the stinger suffered last week against the Buffalo Bills. But even Kelce gutted it out there and had a productive day.
Yeah, 99 yards. And you're right. It seemed like Kelce was either limping off the field or holding his hand when he was coming off the field, or seemed to have problems all day and still ended up with 99 yards of receptions. So, Vahe, we were talking about the defense while you were finding a more comfortable position there. Statistically, best game of the year for Kansas City's defense. Sam said they didn't play the Browns or the Chargers or the Ravens today, or especially the Bills. But you play the team that you're, that's on the field opposing you. And I thought the Chiefs did a really good job today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys may end up muting me again, because right now what you're going to hear is a lot of the cleanup crew here in the stadium in the background. It kind of gives you a feel for where we are, but just zap me if it's not coming through at all. I think I'm in the owner's box. But if you can hear me.
See if there are any emails are laying around.
I would just say, look, I mean, this kind of went the defense was a huge part of this. It is the team you're playing. That's all you can do is who you're up against. But this kind of went from being a potential feel-good reset game to a line in the sand second half. And, look, they came through, and let's hope they get some traction out of it.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. And it's going to be a different challenge and a difficult challenge next week at Tennessee. But, look, Sam, you touched on it. They did make the change, the starting lineup change with Thornhill. That's something that we had been hearing all week that was going to happen. It ended up happening. But Willie Gay, I didn't see him on the field much. Herbie, was he hurt today too, or? Get yourself unmuted, Herbie.
He wasn't mentioned after the game, Blair. I thought he played more in the first half than he did in the second half, but I can't swear to that.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that as well. And if he was hurt, Andy Reid certainly didn't mention anything about Willie Gay being hurt, but he was out there.
Only one tackle, I think, in the final stats. Maybe you have. I don't have the final numbers in front of me, but What I do have is I jotted down some players who I thought played really well. I thought L'Jarius Sneed had a terrific game, had a tackle for loss, and he had the fumble recovery that Mike Dana jarred loose. I thought Rashad Fenton played really well, had the nice breakup of the pass in the end zone. Listen, how much grief has Frank Clark accepted all year? I thought Frank Clark was pretty active today and got a couple of quarterback pressures. Would have had a sack if Taylor Heineke hadn't rolled over the top of him. Washington quarterback, smart play. It just still resulted in a third down that wasn't converted. And then Tyrann Mathieu, I thought, played well as well. So there was some solid individual play for the Chiefs on the defensive side. Before we finish on the defense, we do have to talk about the touchdown. It was a busted play. You guys had the bird's eye view of it? Who was at fault on that? Because Ricky Seals-Jones, the former Chief, couldn't have been, nobody within 15 yards of him when he caught that pass.
Sam McDowell had an interesting photo called up of, we don't know the coverage for sure, right? But it looked like Thornhill turned away from Ricky Seals-Jones into maybe doubling up somebody else downfield, and it had the look of it being Ben Neiman's assignment. But I don't know that we can conclusively know what that was. You guys might have seen it better, but I think there was. All we know is it was a breakdown.
Yeah, to me, it looked like the breakdown occurred on that side of the field. And Vahe, you are correct, because from where I was sitting, Nate Taylor from The Athletic also pulled up a photo of the coverage, and we saw Thornhill turn to his left to go cover that side of the field, and that left, there were two players over there that Heineke actually could have thrown to, but it was actually Seals-Jones who was 9 yards behind Ben Neiman. And I think that's another play that after that play happened, that's when Tyrann Mathieu had the little blow up on the sideline.
Yeah, Tyrann's getting good at that. Those sideline blow ups. Whatever. Hey, it worked. Didn't work last week. Worked this week, right?
Tyrann said after the game how the guys love it when he freaks out, or whatever term he used. I think it might depend on to whom his ire is directed, though. Also. But if being asked about it last week made him self-conscious at all, we certainly didn't recognize that today. It looked like he just was empowered.
And I learned on social media, maybe I should have known this already, but he's playing with a fractured thumb. Is that right, Herbie? Was he part of the injury report this week?
These injuries are popping up all over the place, and we're going to get the Chiefs in trouble because apparently Lucas Niang was supposedly dealing with a hamstring injury. That's the reason why Mike Rivers took over. But Niang was not on the injury report at all. So, if Tyrann Mathieu's dealing with a fractured thumb, that has to be on the injury report.
Must have happened on the plane Saturday, these injuries. You know how dangerous those plane rides can be on the road trip. So,
hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Stars award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
First quarter ends, the Chiefs look fantastic, right? They that first possession drive the length of the field. I thought it was great that they went for it on 4th and 1. Darrell Williams making his first NFL start, cuts back and goes for 5 around midfield. That's the series where Fortune makes the great catch. Darrell Williams finishes off with the 2-yard touchdown run. This is after the Chiefs had a 3 and out, to open the game. And sorry, I was distracted by Vahe's screen movement there, setting the screen. Second,
Sorry, I was distracted by Brian LaBerge's comment there. That was good.
I gotta get down there.
He said
That is good, Brian. Well done, Brian.
Watched film.
So the Chiefs' second possession, moving down the field. I think that was the McCole Hardman 49-yard reception down the sideline, which was really nice. And then the first quarter comes to an end, and the Chiefs are in great shape, right? They're about to knock on the door. They're up 7-3, about to go up 14-3. And the first play of the second quarter is the Mahomes pass to Tyreek Hill, who slips for the second time in the game, gets up, and just in time to let the ball go through his hands and into the arms of another former Chief, Kendall Fuller, for another maddening interception. And before the second quarter is over, we have the McCole Hardman fumble off the end around, and we have maybe the worst pass and the worst decision that Patrick Mahomes has made for another interception. So all three turnovers in the second quarter. The Chiefs go from up 7-3, so they're trailing 13-10 at halftime. And I'm thinking, what is this? How can this continue to happen? I couldn't understand it. I'm trying to think of ways to frame it and how you guys are all going to write about it. And then they decided, and this was a really good approach, I thought, in the second half. They decided not to turn it over. And so when they do that, they outscore Washington 21-0. Their offense looks fantastic. Players other than Kelsey and Hill, were playing really well. The touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson. I thought Darrell Williams had a really nice game for his first game as an NFL starter. So, what were you guys thinking at halftime? Was it how were you assembling the thoughts for columns and stories at halftime?
I felt like it was an either way situation, but that there was going to have to be a pivot, and it might have been, as Patrick put it after the game, might have been spiraling down. I felt open-minded, but certainly pessimistic for the very reasons we talked about before. Just that you thought they'd come in here, be fundamentally sound, take care of business, and that was not what had happened in the first half. And I do think that was. I don't know. I don't see any play to compare to it in Patrick's past with the Chiefs. I think that was the worst play of his career. Inexplicable, really. Even though he tried to explain it, it was still inexplicable.
That play was kind of like the Baltimore interception, but it was like the hold my beer version of that play, of just an even worse decision that had even less chance of any sort of success. I thought at halftime that it was a disaster. I thought at halftime, the worst outcome was absolutely on the table. The offensive line, I thought, was playing pretty well. And other than that, it was hard to pick out many positives. So that's as drastic. Look, football games are weird, right? First halves and second halves. And there was a game in New England a few years ago that stands out, but a couple against the Patriots, I guess, actually. But, that's as drastic a first half, second half, difference as you're likely to see any week of the NFL season.
Yeah, I think like all of us we're not really positive about could the Chiefs lose this game, based on what we've seen, especially over the last month. Absolutely. I thought they could have lost this game. Don't forget, they could have had two more turnovers. Travis Kelce had the ball jarred loose, on that first drive, but, he was ruled down. Tyreek Hill slipped, his first instance of slipping on the turf, and the ball slipped through the Washington's defender's arm. So, there were some miscues that they somehow were saved in that first quarter. It could have been worse. But could they have lost this game? I thought they could have lost this game.
I thought this game was going to spiral out of control in the second half. All the disasters that occurred in the second quarter, and then they get the ball to start the second half and ended up punting. Right? I thought that was kind of the worst moment for the offensive line. They got pressure on Mahomes a few times. He threw 3 straight incompletions, had to punt it away. I'm thinking, here we go. But defense played well. I think this was one of the occasions where Washington punted. Hardman got a good return. Maybe that was the return and the penalty that set the Chiefs up at a really advantageous position, and Chiefs were on their way. 3 straight possessions that ended in touchdowns for them. So again, all's well that ends well. But gosh, against an AFC contender, 3 turnovers, and I know they got a couple right. Turk Wharton's interception was fantastic, a great individual play, and Dana's punch out and L'Jarius Sneed's alertness to pick up the ball. What was it, Vahe? 12 straight giveaways since they got the takeaway.
Yeah, and I think Sam charted it out, and I think the last 2 takeaways were the Tyrann Mathieu interceptions in the first quarter at Baltimore.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So, hey, before I continue, what Brian Johnson says, Nick Bolton, solid tackler. I wanted to add his name to the list of defensive players who I thought played well today. And I think he ended up leading the team in tackles with 9. He seemed to be in a lot of, the right place at the right time a lot today. Had a really nice tackle for loss on a short pass.
There was one issue though that I spotted up there, and Melly can be my witness on this. There were a couple of times where he's not wrapping up the player. It's like all he wants to do is try to deliver a big hit. But when you're doing that, now you're hitting the guy forward 2 or 3 more yards. He's got to be. As a linebacker there, look, I understand you're trying to take out the guy, but you got to wrap him up. You got to wrap him up and bring him down.
Yeah, I thought there was a couple guys doing that. That was that's something they got to fix. I mean, gone at least today was the Daniel Sorensen just like ghost tackle, where he's trying to wrap up and the guy just gets around him. But I agree with Herbie 100%. I think that's something they got to work on.
So what did Mahomes say about the turnovers, the mistakes, his play, Vahe, after the game?
Well, he said it'd probably make the "Come On Man" video segment. And one thing I think you guys will agree with this: Patrick is always really interesting on this when it comes to sort of the self-deprecating, self-critical moments. And he was pretty good on the play. I mean, he just said he turned too quickly trying to get the ball to hand it to Darrell Williams. Then he tried to scoot outside and where he did. I do wish he would have given us one more sentence about why he actually threw the ball. I mean, he had said he'd seen Travis Kelce, but if you look at the blur of stuff going on there, I mean, he's throwing the ball up with 2 guys wrapped around him on 3rd and 1, by the way. Right. I mean, I think that was a game situation thing that really stuck with me. Like, just eat it or just throw it out, throw it into the stands. And he was far enough out there. So, but I do think one of the points he made, and he's never going to suffer from lack of confidence. He'll always keep believing himself. But also was that guys like Orlando Brown and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce got to him right away and were like, keep doing what you do. And I think that mattered to him, and I think he, I don't think he was like a shrinking violet in the second half. I think he pretty much played the way he usually does. He just didn't have any bizarre situations like that. I mean, it is funny though. That was a rookie mistake.
Totally. The type of mistake you'd see from a guy in one of his first NFL games.
That he didn't make as a rookie.
That's right. No, exactly. Hey, Herbie, how did you think Darrell Williams played today? Herbie, unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. I thought as a guy who made his first career regular season start, he gave the Chiefs what they needed. We mentioned this on Friday's show. He's not going to be the elusive guy in the open field like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But for a guy who gets you those tough yards between the tackles, he was it. He was also very involved in the passing game. Totaled almost 90 yards, but it was the 2 touchdowns, to help the Chiefs secure this win. He did a pretty good job there. Like Andy Reid says, he did a good job.
I thought his cutback ability, I don't know if I'd seen that to the extent that we saw it today. I was really impressed by that. Listen, I may be crazy, but I thought he moved better laterally than Clyde Edwards-Helaire does. there was a short pass that he had no business being able to turn upfield for the 11 or 12-yard gain that it was. He eluded two tacklers that were in front of him, making moves around both. I was really impressed with Darrell Williams today, and I imagine the Chiefs are pretty happy with the way he played. I love the one reception and maybe the only stat of the day by Jerick McKinnon. Took that short pass and bowled over a defender. Great second effort to pick up a first down. He needed 4 and got 5 just on sheer will. Listen, that's what I ended up writing about from this game. I just thought for the Chiefs to end up with 499 yards of total offense, which was a season high, and Mahomes had 379 passing yards, again, a season high, that the reason that and that happened without a 100-yard game from Kelsey or Hill, and that was because these other guys played really well today. I mean, D-Rob and Byron Pringle had 3 for 55 and Fortune's catch, and they got to use all of it. And look, going back to where we started, Washington is not doesn't measure up to the best teams in the AFC. But it was a playoff team last year, and their defense, is respectable. It's supposed to be good. I think it's respectable. They got to Mahomes a couple times, so I don't know. I didn't think the Chiefs would cover the 6-point spread, and they ended up, obliterating it. So, good. Throw out one quarter, and it was a great game for the Chiefs. With that quarter, it was a good day, and they're on their way home to get ready for Tennessee. What points, Herbie, do we need to follow up on, though, with the injuries? You mentioned a couple of them. We'll be talking to Andy Reid tomorrow.
What points? You cut off.
Yeah. What points do we need to follow up on with Andy Reid tomorrow?
Well, definitely the injuries. You definitely want to know about that because, you want to know how your linebacker situation is going to do when you know who you're facing next week. Bad Derrick Henry. And you got to be healthy on defense there. I'm curious to know how Chris Jones, what is he going to practice this week? This guy hasn't practiced in 2 weeks now. They got to get that guy back into the lineup as well, and Charvarius Ward, because if you have Julio Jones on the other side, you got to get these guys healthy.
For sure. Okay, that'll do it for us today. Really appreciate Herbie Teope, Vahe, Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger, and all of you following us on Facebook and Twitter for listening to us discuss the Chiefs' 31-13 victory over Washington. And we'll be back on Friday morning to break down what we heard from the Chiefs during the week and look ahead to the game at Tennessee, which is a noon kickoff on CBS on Sunday. And yeah, Vahe, any emails lying around, check them out, okay? See you guys.
All right, any coffee?
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Monty Davis, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. Tip of the cap to Herbie Teope, Sam Mellinger, and Vahe Gregorian for Talking Chiefs. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. So let's talk about the morning sports edition. If you're not seeing it, you're really missing out. On kansascity.com, go to the Stars e-edition. That's, of course, a replica of the printed newspaper on your screen that comes with your digital subscription. Well, now there's an updated sports section produced separately that goes along with it. When you open the e-edition, there's a box in the upper right-hand corner that says All Editions. Click on that, and you can access anywhere from 15 to 50 pages of sports. Maybe you get a link for this in your email. I do, and it's there by about 6 a.m. every morning. But however you get it, it's access to complete coverage of the previous day's sports news, features, statistics, everything. It's fantastic. Hey, thanks for reading the Star and listening to our podcast lineup. You're helping support the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City, and we could not produce programs like SportsBeat KC without you. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. Hope you'll tune in then.